Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream with Mint Market. Um, I will do a quick market outlook today. I will try to be under 10 minutes and I will give you my opinion about what I expect the coming week. I will do the dollar index, the S&P mini futures, the Nasdaq, uh, and the euro dollar today. And I will wrap everything up at the end. Um, yeah, what I would like to start, let's start with the dollar index right away. I like to look at the dollar index since it gives a good indication what other markets doing if we risk on or risk off. And yeah, let's look what we saw. Dollar index, we saw that we have last week we have taken out a low here and we have retraced up quickly since that. So we haven't closed below and we have a pretty big wick. So that is not a convincing liquidity run here. So that's signaling to me that it might want to reverse, so that was just a liquidity run and not a long-term breakthrough. And on the weekly chart, and also what I'm looking here, the dollar index is very much consolidating at the moment, so I don't have a hard bias here. My opinion about the coming week is we have just taken liquidity, and also we have relative equal highs here, equal highs here. On the other hand, we have sell side liquidity here. However, due to reaction, I think it is more likely that we go higher here, that we see bullish movement next week. We could come back first initially and maybe go to the mean threshold of this wick here, which is approximately 102.66. We could retrace down to the midpoint and then maybe see a reaction up higher into this fair value gap here. That's what we could potentially see. Let's go to the daily chart. On the other hand, we have a daily fair value gap here, so we're also trapped between these ranges here. We have taken out the low, retraced since, came back into the fair value gap here. On the daily chart, and have made one run, second run, and are at the moment we closed below this fair value gap here. So that's actually not a hard bias here. Could also go either way. With a gun to my head, I think higher is a little bit more likely. However, we're trapped in a range here, and whatever we see first, so it might be we might see a run on the opposing side here. So if we go down first, we might see a run up later in the week. If we go up first, we might see market trading lower in the second half of the week. Let's jump right into S&P stocks, S&P 500, and let's start with the weekly chart here. Basically same, pretty similar story here. We're not that much in a consolidation. We have broken the weekly market structure here, had a huge wick down and retraded up since. We could not take this low out here. We will see in the Nasdaq that Nasdaq almost took out this low here. And I also do not have a very hard bias here on S&P. Um, Here we have a fair value gap here on the weekly chart as well above here, and we do have a big wick down below. So we can measure the mean threshold of this wick here real quickly. And that's what I'm thinking kind of. Here my plan for the week is whatever we see first might be the more likely run to the opposite side. So if we trade up first into this fair value gap higher, we might see a retracement later in the week, trying to go back down into the wick, going to seeking at least a consequent encouragement here at approximately 5228. If we go lower first, we could go at the beginning of the week, we could go to the mean threshold, or just we could go back down into the wick, or maybe just a quarter of the wick here. I'm just eyeballing that now, 5276 approximately, and then go higher, um, attacking this, trying to trade in this gap here with a low of 5-3. Let me check what's the high of this candle, 5385.25. So basically whatever we see first, I expect the opposite move later in the week, as of now. If we go first lower into the mean threshold or a quarter of this week and not lower, we might see a run up again into the daily fair value gap. If we go first into the daily fair value gap, we might see a run lower into the week after. And on the daily chart, gun to my head, I think right now it's pretty much 50-50, but gun to my head, on the daily chart, it looks to me a little bit more bullish. We had this low taken out here. It tried to run out the lows here, couldn't make it, had a wick here. We went back to almost consequent encouragement here. So it went to the mean threshold of the wick and then had a huge reaction off the wick. So we also have closed above the old weekly opening gap. So all that here is an indication that we might be a little bit more bullish than bearish here. And also if I look at the fair value gap here, I'm measuring also I'm measuring from volume imbalance to volume imbalance. We can see here we have to measure the whole fair value gap here. Okay, we have not reached consequent encouragement yet, the mean threshold of this imbalance here. Yeah, so it's really 50-50 in my opinion. Whatever I would wait, whatever side it wants to trade first, and then see if there is opportunity to trade in the opposing direction. So if it goes first lower after the week, I will try to find some longs maybe. If it goes first up, I'll try to look for short. So that's basically my trade idea here. with a slightly higher expectation that we might see further upside this week on the S&P. Nasdaq, quickly, basically we had, let's start with the weekly chart. We had basically the same thing. Here it was able to take out the lows here, almost. I mean, they're pretty equal, but it took out the sell side liquidity here and had a huge wick up so far. We have also a gap here, a weekly gap here, and a huge wick. So same thing. If we open and trade first up, I think there's a likelihood that we could look for setups going lower into the wick and targeting, for example, the first quarter or the mean threshold here. I'm just eyeballing it. Let me annotate it here. So if we go first higher into this weekly gap, we could look for setups going short into the wick, aiming for the mean threshold approximately 17,827 or the first quarter here, 18,145. And if we trade first into the wick, quarter or mean threshold, and don't go lower or close below, we could see a movement up into this weekly gap here. And also here, gun to my head, if I have to guess here, I'd prefer, I think the likelihood is a little bit more on the buy side. So I think it's a little bit more likely that we see buy side here. We took out the liquidity here, had a huge wick up, consequent encouragement, had a huge reaction off there, traded through the weekly new week opening gap, and at the moment here we traded above the mean threshold of this daily fair value gap here. Didn't close above it, but we traded above it. So same story. If we go after the opening lower, I'm looking for buy setups. If we go higher first, I might look for sell setups later. But I think gun to my head, the buy side is more likely. We see an up close candle this week if I have to commit to one side. And that's it for stocks. And yeah, and also let me mention that we have a little bit conflicting analysis here, because if I'm looking for I was on dollar index, I told you I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about the buy side, and here in stocks I said the same thing. I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about the buy side next week. So this is conflicting because ideally would be to see, for example, a lower dollar and higher stocks or vice versa. And last but not least, let me check out euro. I think we are also here pretty much still in a consolidation. As you can see, it's very obvious. We have taken out highs here on the daily chart, traded into a fair value gap here on Tuesday the 2nd, and retraced a little bit lower so far. We had on the 4-hour, we don't have a clear mark. We have a market structure shift here. If we go even lower, we can see that yeah, we have a market structure shift. We have a fair value gap here. So I think next week we will see if this if this fair value gap should keep price, should hinder price going higher. So I think here, gun to my head, on the weekly chart, we could see lower prices. Maybe we have an open into the wick, and then we could go lower, trading into the wick of the previous of the week from Monday 29th July here. So if I have to commit to one side, I'd go for the sell side in euro dollar. I'd go for the sell side in euro, which is in line with buy side on the US dollar. At least here I have no conflicting analysis so far. Yeah, that's it. Please also let me remind you that all being said is my personal opinion. Do not take this as trade advice. Do not risk real money on it. And also, if you're interested in what I'm doing, I will do live sessions trading and analyzing the S&P 500 market next week, every day, most likely starting from 10 a.m. New York time, trading through 11 a.m. New York time. So if you're interested, in such live streams, would be cool if you stop by, and would be cool if you leave the video a thumbs up here and subscribe to the channel. That would be also very cool. Yeah, and last but not least, let me just have a look at Bitcoin, just because I'm curious now. All right, Bitcoin on the weekly chart. Man, a lot of buy side liquidity above here, relative equal highs, here relative equal highs, here relative equal highs. So lower high. Here we took out the low, another low, a third low. So yeah, so far we are still ranging in my opinion, but I think at some point we could see a run to attack the buy stops here, because I think there's a lot of buy side liquidity above. Doesn't mean that we have a sustained run here, but at least I think the buy side here is very juicy here. So will be interesting to see for Bitcoin. If we go higher in near future, it would be good if we respect this fair value gap here from Thursday the 8th. We should not go lower and close below that. We could go lower, touch this inversion fair value gap here, but it would be good if we do not close below the midpoint of this fair value gap if we are in fact seeing higher Bitcoin prices. Yeah, crazy market, however. Wouldn't surprise me if we see lower Bitcoin prices eventually as well. We've taken out these highs here from November 8, 21, and at some point I think we can go lower on Bitcoin as well. We have a lot of liquidity here down below, not a big Bitcoin bull, to be honest. All right, that's it. So to wrap that up, I'm a little bit more dollar. Gun to my head, everything is pretty 50-50 this week, but on the dollar index, gun to my head, I would stick to the buy side. Euro, lower prices. on the S&P and the Nasdaq, I would also commit more to the buy side than to the sell side for next week. However, here it's important for me to see which side we trade first. So if we see first a lower move, I'd probably try to take a long later this week. If we see first an up move, I'd probably look for a short opportunity here. So that's it from my side, and I will be live streaming every day. So if you're interested what I'm doing intraday in the New York AM session, stop by and check out my live stream, and would be cool to see you there. I wish you a great evening or a great end of the day wherever you are, and all the best.